Blog Talk Radio.
Good day, everybody. Running around like a chicken with my head cut off. As always, this is your host on the Power of Perception Radio Network, Scott Golden, and we were able to pull together an interview for today, which we will be getting to momentarily. I'm excited for that, excited for all of the great things that are happening around here, and also excited for the music that we get to share and debut on the program today. Brenda Rachel, who is our guest and has released the In This Moment EP, will be with us in a matter of minutes. And I do want to encourage you, if you're listening live, you can join us in the chat room. And also, if you want to call in for our guest, you can do that as well. As we are going to be taking your questions and calls and comments on Brenda's music, as well as the creative process, as that's what we're all about around here. And hopefully we will have a good show for you today. Also want to thank all of you for your continued support, both on social media and otherwise, as the network continues to grow. Hopefully the music you hear today will become part of our regular break, our break music, as we continue to work with amazing artists who are successful and independent. So I believe this is our guest now. Hello, you are live and on the air with Scott Golden of the Power Perception Radio Network. Who is this? Where are you calling from? Hello?
Hello?
Hello? All right.
Can you hear me?
There you are. I couldn't hear you for a second there. A bit of a delay, but can hear you now. Can hear you now.
Okay.
All righty. And so I assume this is Brenda, yes? Hello?
Hi there.
Okay, I don't know what the delay is. Maybe I see you're using Skype. Maybe there's a bit of a delay with the Skype system. I don't know if you wanted to perhaps try calling back in if that'll fix the delay for us, or if we want to try.
Can you hear me now, Scott?
I can hear you. It's just that it seems that there's a delay in you hearing me. That's the only challenge that we're having at the moment. So
okay, because no, I'm on my landline. I'm not on Skype, so I can phone you back if you'd like.
Okay, you seem to be coming through fine now. It just seemed that for the first 60 to 90 seconds, you weren't hearing me as well as things were going through. Anyhow,
okay.
Glad that you're with us, and we certainly hustled to get things together today.
Yeah.
For those listeners who aren't familiar with your music and your creative process, if you'd like to just introduce what that process has been like for you, we'd love to start there.
Okay, sure. My name's Brenda Rachel, and I put this EP together. I composed this EP back in between 2004 and 2006. And during that time, I was on disability, off my regular work job. I couldn't work for 4 months. I couldn't walk for 4 months, and I was unable to work for 4 months. And as I laid on the couch, I kept asking God and the angels why this was happening to me, why I was in so much pain, what was the message that I was supposed to learn, etc., or just why. And one day I was presented with the answer by music and lyrics popping into my head, and very distinctly, no variations, for the first title song of the EP, which is In This Moment. And it took about, I'd say, 6 months to completely write the lyrics. Variations of sentences, etc., kept floating around in my head, and then all of a sudden I would change words. But the melody was always very, very consistent. it wasn't formulated in the way that it has come out in the song. I might have started with a verse and then gone into a chorus and et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, and during that time, my sister sent me a book on angels, which I'd always been very well aware of angels, but I'd never really had what I considered to be a personal relationship with angels. And this book was called Messages from Your Angels by Doreen Virtue. And it helped me understand a lot about and opened my mind up, my cognitive ability to realize that I could tap into my angels at any time, that they were always with me, and that I could hear them very, very clearly on what I was to deliver. I was also very open and receptive to being a vessel for their messages, so that's why I believe that they came to me. And so anyway, I wrote the first, I think, 2 or 3 songs in a couple of months, like kept working on them. And I was attending a Unity church at that time and met the musician, one of the musicians there, who had a recording studio, and my girlfriend, who actually sings the title track in this moment, Una St. Clair, she introduced me to John Hemingway. He had a recording studio, and I started the process with John. I would go in and lay on the couch because I wasn't able to walk, and I would sing the melody and tell him the instruments that I could hear playing in my head for the songs, and we built the songs bar by bar by bar on his keyboard, which had all of the various instruments in their composition, in their sections on the keyboard: drum, percussions, percussion, strings, brass, etc., etc. So I would say to him, John, I hear strings and I hear this and that and whatever, and I would tell him exactly what we needed to use for the various instruments for each song. And it varied with time frames on how long each song was put together, was built, conceived, I call it. Like it was the birth of a new baby every time I went into the studio to work with John. And it was very exciting, and we worked very well together. We made a great team. He sings 5 of the tracks, and as I mentioned, Eunice sings In This Moment. So that's basically, and I have no musical background whatsoever other than my mother, who is deceased. Her name was Barbara Solis, and she comes from the Ottawa area, and she was a classical Spanish pianist, well known in the Ottawa area, gave many, many concerts at various venues there. And I took lessons from her when I was 6 years old, but it became a very frustrating process for the both of us. So I stopped taking piano lessons from her, but continued just sitting down at the piano and basically playing easy music, mostly hymns, from a hymn book that would be on the piano most of the time, and just sitting down and playing the piano from sight, but always using music. So that's kind of the inception of how this EP In This Moment came about. So it was in 2004 it was birthed, but it wasn't until this October 2014 that I actually have once again been on disability, off work, and I was lying on the spinal decompression table asking my mom for some guidance as to what I was supposed to do with my spiritual work on the planet, because the doors didn't seem to be opening for things I've done in the past. And she very succinctly told me, you need to get your music on iTunes. So this is how this whole process has come to be. So this has just been a new venture for me. I've learned everything that is needed to put your music out there, digitally market music, how to do it, and where to go, and the people to work with, and everybody that's been brought into my life through Mondo Tunes and wherever else I've needed help. They have been absolutely wonderful to work with, and it's been just the most awesome experience. So I'm so grateful to Mondo Tunes for getting the music out there on iTunes and Amazon, and for you, Scott, for inviting me to participate in this message to your listeners of how this came about. But also I want to encourage anybody that's out there, because this also became a process for me of I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe that the work was good enough because I'm not known. Nobody knows who I am, and I consider myself like a nobody in this business. And I hear stories all the time about how hard it is to get music released, to be heard. You kind of have to have a connection or a network system, and I have none of that. And I very definitely connected musically with like a band or etc. I have none of that. But I did have the belief that it was time that these words needed to be heard by people, and that the angels delivered them to me. And I am absolutely ecstatic to tell your listeners that without the angels, this EP would not have been born, and without them, you would not be listening to it. So that's kind of the process.
What's interesting is you just covered about 10 years of your life story in 12 minutes, and I love how succinctly that all came together for you. And I just want to, we here on the Power of Perception Radio Network are all about giving a spotlight to people who don't have that national or international exposure. That's the basis behind what we do and why we do it. And so I ran across your work on Twitter earlier today, gave some things a listen and thought, there's a story behind this. Didn't exactly know what the story was, didn't exactly know why I felt so drawn to it, but what we're going to do over the next hour and 45 minutes is you did send me 6 songs, which was very generous of you. And so what we're going to do is throughout the broadcast, we're going to play these songs, and then you can kind of give the listeners, if you would, the backstory behind them, the meaning to you, and the meaning you hope that each listener or that listeners will take away from the songs. Because I think for musicians, the one thing that I've found, and I spent a decade and a half in the entertainment industry, the one thing that I found is sometimes the story behind the song or the inspiration gets lost once something is released. And so part of the interesting thing in the interview process is giving the artist and giving the composer that ability to have something that's on demand and available for people that want to learn about their music. Now this interview is there for, longevity and posterity, which will give your listeners an opportunity to kind of get the inside track, so to speak. I also find it really interesting that in your moment of darkness, something like music, which has been scientifically proven to help with the synaptic function of the brain and the healing process, was blessed upon you at a time when a lot of people would have quit, would have given up. Now, did you have an interest in getting into music at all before your illness, or was that something that you were struggling to find something to do with your time and the inspiration came from that, or was it a combination of both?
Actually, I was raised in my entire life in a musical home with Mom practicing 7 hours a day, studying to be a concert pianist. And but myself, no, I like to sing, and just for myself, and I had sung in the choir at church, etc. But this came totally out of the blue. This was not something that I knew was that I'd sat down and said, gee, I'm going to start writing songs, or nothing like that at all. It absolutely, when I asked directly to God and the angels, I was so devastated and in such emotional and physical pain that I just didn't understand what the purpose was for it. And I did believe from my spiritual belief system that there was a reason, there had to be a higher purpose for me being basically bedridden for 6 weeks, and from being a very active person and a sole provider, et cetera, to just basically being brought to my knees. And so then the angels, like I said, the songs, just the first song, In This Moment, which was the first song that I wrote, just started to evolve. And I just accepted it. Every time a bar would come or a line to a verse or however they chose to give it to me, I would be, it took 6 months to write that song, so I did go back to work during the time of writing this song, and I would just be sitting on the bus with my eyes closed because I had an hour and a half commute to work, and I would just be listening to it unfold in my head and sing it over and over and over and over again while I was traveling into town with my eyes closed. Like in my head, I'd be singing it, not on the bus, because obviously I didn't want to disrupt the rest of the passengers. But anyway, so in answer to your question, no, it wasn't something that I set out to do, that I needed to deter or detract my emotional, where my mind was going with my physical pain. It was just brought to me, as you said, I was very blessed. Absolutely, without a doubt, very blessed. This was a miracle, and one of my one of my songs is called I Believe in Miracles, and this definitely, for me, was the biggest miracle I've ever had exercised and brought right in front of my face. So I do know that miracles happen without exception.
And so when you, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you, of the 6 songs that you sent to me, is there a certain song you'd like us to play first? Because I'm going to go into that first music break here in the next few minutes, but I want to give you the option of what's presented to our listeners first. But are there things that you want people to take away from each song, or the EP, the In This Moment EP in general, in terms of inspiration points? Or in other words, if there's a new listener out there, and we're going to get later in the interview into how people can purchase, and the special offer that I'm going to partner with you with, which is they're going to get $5 off of my life and relationship and creativity coaching services if they purchase from you. So once they do that, they get a value-added service bonus, right? So
thank
in
you.
any event, you're very welcome. But in any event, for new listeners, what is the message that you want them to take away from this EP?
Okay, so I believe that the messages that the angels were delivering through me were, there's a basic continuum of theme, and that is peace, love, joy, and hope. Every single song has something to do with one of those facets. And so that's why I really call it an inspirational / spiritual EP. It's not a religious EP. It's not a religious EP. It's not a traditional Christian EP, although God is mentioned in some of the songs as a spirit. But they have a general overtone that would reach anybody of any faith in any genre, like any area of the world. My belief, or my what would I say? What I wanted to do, and what I still want to do, because I want to add to this EP as and when I can, is have each song be of its own genre, whether it's symphonic, jazz, classical, One's sort of like a Jamaican African kind of theme. I wanted it to have a cultural openness to it, flavor to it, so that it cannot be said that all the songs sound the same. Every single song is different, and as you'll see when you hear them. And but maybe, I mean, it might not be as blatantly obvious to your listeners as it is to me, because I know like what my intent was behind it, and that's good that you're going to ask me about the history, what was behind when I wrote the songs, or they came to me, etc. But it is my intention at some point to have In This Moment be a very culturally diverse EP. And In This Moment, the title track of that is to remind us that this is all we have. This is all we will ever have, is right in this moment. So if we can make the best of whatever it is, whatever situation, this is where I had to get to when I was off with my disability, and I'm off again now. And I have to really consciously affirm to myself many times throughout the day that all I have is this moment. So that's the overall kind of essence. But more than that, it's inspirational. My desire is to inspire everyone. And if one of your listeners is touched by one of the songs, then the angels working through me, I have done my job for them.
The job of service, such a very underappreciated but essential part of the growth and development and continuation of humanity. So I do want to go to that first music break. Is there a track that you would prefer we start with?
Yes, I think I'd like to start with In This Moment, which was the first song that I wrote, and I've kind of given the listeners some background to that.
All right, so we will do that. I will put you on mute so that the music gets the spotlight, and then we'll come back to the interview in just a second. But let me pull that up. This is In This Moment by Brenda Rachel on the Power of Perception Radio Network. There we go. Hit the wrong track there. Let's try this one more time. It decided to start two tracks at once. Once again, this is In This Moment by Brenda Rachel on the Power of Perception Radio Network. All right, and that was In This Moment by Brenda Rachel here on the Power of Perception Radio Network. We're going to bring her back on now, and I love how sometimes technology has a mind of its own, and sometimes things get their own idea of what they're going to do. But, you know, I love it because a lot of what I work on with my clients is present moment mindedness and the fact that this moment is the moment where you can make excuses or the moment where you can make history. So there's so much in that song about you know, the present moment mindedness and the idea that we are all history makers in every moment that we undertake, and that the past is gone, we can't change it. The future is what we're co-creating as we live each moment, and to be present moment minded. What I like about that song is the rejoicing that we are here, wherever here is, right?
Right.
We are here, and we can do something with wherever we are and whatever we're going through. You mentioned your illness earlier, although we didn't delve that much into it. If you would be so kind for our listeners, is there an overview you can give of how that impacted your life and how perhaps present moment mindedness needed to be a part of your daily routine to be able to both compose but to also be able to thrive and succeed through adversity?
Well, the disability I had at that time was I had severe bilateral plantar fasciitis in my feet. And, sorry, I'm just getting a lot of feedback here. So, I had to ice my feet, and I remember sitting on the couch and getting an ice bottle, like a pop bottle, that I'd put ice in and froze it, and I would roll it like a rolling pin under my feet. And as I was rolling it back and forth, and that song was playing in my head, I kept thinking to myself, wow, all I have is this moment, like, oh my gosh, this pain, is it ever going to go away? And as the ice relieved the inflammation, it was just so prevalent in my mind how our conscious thought I could either be in the pain and be suffering with the pain, or ascend beyond the pain for a couple of seconds and just so appreciate the brief amount of relief that I was getting. So these songs, as they came to me, I would venture to say, but that was back in 2004 and 2005. I had this issue going on with my feet. I would say at least a good 50% of the time detracted me from the debilitating pain that I was going through, because I was so focused on listening to what the angels were getting through to me.
Now, when you talk about angels, and I love how you're owning your belief system, but I haven't heard you say this is the right way, this is the wrong way. I've more heard about your personal journey and the way that you speak, but have you always been a believer in the angelic realm and spiritual helpers, or did that come about as a result of your physical challenges?
This came about from the book that my sister sent me while I was off with my feet, that introduced me to a conscious knowledge of angels. I'd always been raised with God in my life since I was 5 years old, well, probably younger. Mom and Dad went to church when I was younger. We were raised in a traditional Christian Baptist home, so I always was faith-based. I taught Sunday school and sang in the choir and did all that kind. You went to the youth groups and all that kind of thing, and then broadened out kind of more as I became an adult, but not understanding that angels are with us all the time, and understanding that I could call upon them at any time for help. So my understanding for me now, and my belief now, is that the angels are messengers for God, and that we as a human race are surrounded by our angels. They never leave us, and that they are with us all the time, and just, they're my best friends.
Interestingly, talk about your background and perhaps some of your professional journey before you went into music, because one of the things I think our listeners might find interesting is you mentioned you were raised around music, but it wasn't necessarily your passion. And obviously it became your passion, which means there's part of you that had to go through a reinvention process and kind of allowing yourself to be led in a new direction. Where were you before music became such a major part of your life?
Okay, so if I'm understanding, are you asking me, like, what my daytime job was, or like how music evolved into my life? Because this is what I do as my love and my the way I would like to just never have to work in a corporate world again, just always serve God through my music, but I work in a corporate world. And so music evolved it did not become a part of my life as an adult until I started receiving these messages and started writing these songs, music and lyrics, and started writing these songs. That's when it happened.
Okay, and what I was asking is more about what is your background away from music, so that listeners can kind of see that, okay, you might be really good at, I don't know, accounting, but you might have a passion for tap dance. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I've worked.
I think it's important for people to realize that what you're passionate about and what you're good at can often be two different things.
Absolutely. So I work in the legal industry. I'm a legal assistant, and I've done that since 1991. And and I've been in and around office work my entire adult life. So from that, I carry the qualities of organization, communication, leadership. I can organize anybody's desk to a T, and can put together documents and do all kinds of business marketing things, which I've had to teach myself, do my own business cards and brochures, et cetera, So that kind of an aptitude, clerical, administrative, supportive, that's kind of, those kind of traits are what I have.
So, and that's why I brought that forward. It's so different. It's so different from the creative process. It's so different from where your passion lies. But it's about owning the different parts of who you are. In that if you were to perhaps say, no, I don't want to be the organized legal professional, you'd be struggling, right, to get by. But if you said, no, music isn't going to make me any money, so I'm not going to do it, your heart and your spirit would be struggling. So I just wanted to bring that forward as a thought, so that people could understand it's okay to kind of embrace all that you are, all that your being is, so that at the end of the day, you're kind of serving both the creative side and the practical skill side. I do want to take a time out for those who might be joining us late. How dare they? But for those who might be joining us late, this is the Power of Perception Radio Network. I am Scott Golden, your host. We're here every day trying to put a spotlight on as many different musical acts, authors, every type of, we've got some athletes lined up coming up in the new year. We've got all sorts of different people, and we'd love for you to call in. So if you're out there listening live, I know the majority of listeners are listening in the archive, and that's totally cool. But if you are out there listening live, please feel free to call in, and that's area code 516-590-0357. We're going to be here with Brenda during the next hour and 20 minutes or so, and discussing all sorts of things, her creative process, the ideas behind the music, her goals going forward, and all these other things. But we'd love your input if you're willing to share it, and that's always a good thing. So when you started on this project, how much support would you say that you had from friends and family and different folks? Was it something where you felt truly supported, or was it something where they were like, "You want to do what?"
I didn't really, thinking back, this is 2004 now, I don't, and none of my family lived around me or live around me now, so I didn't really share it with people. My girlfriend who sung the last song, first song that you'd played in this moment, she was a huge support system to me, and the arranger, well, the co-producer, John Hemingway, and myself, who were the team that put the album together, that was my support system. I really did it on my own. And at that time, my mother and I had a falling out, so I think for the 15 months or so, I'm not sure how many, but quite a few months anyway, she didn't even know anything about the album. And I wanted her more than anybody in the world to approve of me and to like it and to acknowledge me for the work that had come through me, because I knew if I got her approval, as she was already a very well recognized artist in her own genre, and she was very esteemed, with her peers in the musical world out in Ottawa. Anyway, when she did finally, I sent her a CD, and I knew that when she listened to it and we got back in communication with each other, whether she liked it or didn't like it at that point was not really the primary focus for me. It was more that she actually listened to it and would give me her constructive criticism. And it was to my surprise, and I also knew that when she listened to it, we would be back in communication with each other, that was the primary focus. And then her giving me her constructive feedback was the secondary focus for me. And that's exactly what happened. After she did listen to it, we got in touch with each other. I can't remember who called who, and she loved it. And she was shocked. She was absolutely, I think she said something like, "Brenny, I don't know," because she used to call me Brenny, "I have no idea where this came from, because the way that the music is put together, all the different," she would use all the musical terms, harmony and whatever, all the construction of the music, the songs themselves, she couldn't fault. And so I said, "Oh, wow, I was ecstatic. I just was so happy that she gave me that feedback." So yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that.
Okay. So speaking of feedback, before we take our next music break, what has the feedback from either the musical community, people who have bought your work, just people who've randomly listened to it, what feedback have you gotten thus far? Since you said the primary release has just taken place over the last several months, what has that process been like for you to kind of put yourself out there and receive the feedback of listeners, probably worldwide, who you probably, when you started, never imagined that it was going to take on this life and become this expansive? What has that feedback been like for you, both emotionally and professionally, and what? Explain that journey to our listeners a little bit.
Okay, well, I'll go back to 2004 to 2014, because that I had CDs and I marketed my CDs myself, but the marketing turned out to be giveaways. So mostly I just I think I produced 100 CDs myself and gave them all away. And everybody, and I gave them to family, friends, coworkers, et cetera, and they would all be only by my feeling, getting a intuitive nudge that this person would like this kind of a CD. I didn't just blatantly go hand them out and say, oh, here's my CD kind of thing. I was very, very going back to what we were addressing before about the turn in the change or the diversion to me accepting and becoming into this sort of musical area and opening it up, etc., from my corporate world. I didn't want anybody in my corporate world to know what I was doing. I didn't think that the two could mesh, and I was actually embarrassed. Like, I was really struggling with having anybody find out I had this side of me. It was kind of like a Jekyll or a dual personality. So to open this whole world up, I just became, familiar with Facebook and Twitter at the end of this October. I had no clue what they were, what they did, how to get on them, like social media, and I never wanted to be on them, and I never perceived myself I would ever be on them. But when I heard my mom's voice in October say I needed to get my music out there, it was time for the music to be released, that I no longer needed to invalidate the whether the songs were good or weren't good, because I never wrote them, etc. And to really take ownership of that it's impossible for me to sit there and say I wrote these songs. They were channeled through me, and I created each song with a professional record producer, but it wasn't something that I set out to do to be big and famous and well known for back in 2004. It was interesting because this June I attended an Anglican church at noon some Tuesdays and for several months, and I actually took the rest of my CDs to the priest in June and asked him to take them down to Vancouver downtown east side and pass them out to people that I believed could would benefit from hearing the words of joy and love and peace. And so I actually kept only one CD. That was this June, because I was so desolate about that they hadn't gone anywhere and that they weren't reaching the people that they were meant to reach. So my one girl, everybody that I'd given CDs to, everybody liked at least one song on the CD. So there was, I'll call it my EP now that's released. But so that touched me. Like I said, I for myself, if just one person liked one passage and one song, wow, great, good. The angels are working through me and I'm doing my service work. But I have one very dear friend. I've known her since I was 14, and she teaches Sunday school out in a very rural community, farming community out here, and her class is age 3 to 18, and they sung I gave her my CD, and she had the children sing two of my songs about 3 or 4 Mother's Days ago in church. And I went out for the service, and I was sitting there, and I just had tears streaming down my face, because to see these little 3-year-olds, a couple of little 3-year-olds, right up to 18-year-olds, singing these songs for the church, as their performance for maybe a congregation of 45, it was just like so moving. The intent behind them going out on iTunes and Amazon now, I want it to go huge. I am taking ownership of that. These are words that are inspiring and spiritual, and our planet seems to be lost. And there also doesn't seem to be a lot of music in this genre, which I found out when I was trying to get it on various sites that even have inspirational or spiritual genres on their music websites. So, and the fellow I worked with at Mondo Tunes, he had never, in all the artists he's worked with, ever had anybody with my story behind the songs, that it had the songs channeled by angels. So I knew it was a really unique endeavor, but I want to touch people's hearts. I want to bring them encouragement. I want people out there who haven't, like myself, believed in themselves for maybe their entire life, say, yes, I can do it, and allow the angels to work with them to open the doors. And if they don't believe in angels, that's fine too. Just believe in themselves, because when we believe in ourselves, and it's better to have something higher than ourselves that we believe in to be directing our ships. This is my opinion. But if a person doesn't, just grab hold of the reins and go with it, and don't give up on your dream. Because for me, I am just so in awe of the process that's happening, and only started for me on October 29th, 2014, with the release of these songs. So I can't answer the question, Scott, like what's the feedback, because A, I don't know how many songs have been purchased, and B, it's been a very short time frame, but everybody that I have personally given the CD to, whether or not, and it wasn't given so, hey, tell me that you like my songs. It was just, I think you would enjoy this, and, let me know if you do, let me know what you think of it, kind of thing. The most recent few people that I gave the song to was the girls up at the spinal decompression clinic that I've just been going to for 13 weeks in September and October and November, and they listen to it all the time. So anyway, that's where I am with that. So I'm just really wanting everybody to listen to the songs and get from it what they want to and need to get from it.
Cool. And I love that, and I love that, 10 years, if you think about that, 520 weeks later,
Yeah.
That, because sometimes we think that, if it doesn't happen in a month, or if it doesn't happen in a year, or if it doesn't happen in 2 years, or whatever that magic number that we have in our head is, that the journey is over. And as long as it's a dream, it's still a journey. And so I want to take that next music break. If you could recommend for us and tell the background story on the next song you'd like played.
Okay. So the next song I think we should play is I Believe in Miracles. And this was just basically the third song I wrote. So I'm not going in order of how I wrote the songs, but just because I so believe in miracles, but was watching the miracle unfold after the inception of In This Moment, I was on a high, an absolute high, and just went, wow, this is a miracle unfolding. So yes, please play I Believe in Miracles.
All right, we can definitely do that, and so I will once again put you back on hold as we play I Believe in Miracles by Brenda Rachel here on the Power of Perception Radio Network.
My miracles, they come from have given have set me free. The best gift of all is in you loving me. Peace, love, and joy are mine eternally. I believe in miracles, yes I do. I believe in miracles, they come from you. Oh, I believe in miracles, yes I do. My miracles, they come from you, yeah. I do believe. I believe in miracles, yes I do. I believe in miracles, they come from you. Oh, I believe in miracles, yes I do. My miracles, they come from you. I believe in miracles. I believe in miracles. I believe in miracles. I believe in miracles. I believe, I believe, I believe. I believe, I believe, I believe. I believe, I believe, I believe.
And that was I Believe in Miracles here on the Power of Perception Radio Network by Brenda Rachel. And I'm going to bring Brenda back on if the technology will work with me here. Here we go. That was the first time I had of hearing the song, and the first thing that comes through to me in the sense of, I don't know if you're familiar with neuro-linguistic programming hypnosis, but I felt like that song needed to be partnered as part of a neuro-linguistic kind of meditation, because there's the idea that there's two ways to live your life. Miracles don't exist, or everything is a miracle. And if we look at things from everything is a miracle, the miracle power is within us to be able to create miraculous things and co-create with our Creator, whether we call that God, Goddess, Spirit, the universe, whatever terminology we use. Miracles do happen every day in every way from angles that we don't see. And I just felt like for people who maybe are struggling with not seeing themselves right, or they're struggling with overcoming addiction or overcoming illness, that song could release so much power to get them to alter their perception and create a better reality for themselves. So just an idea, you might want to partner with a healer who is helping people break those chains. Just a thought.
That's a really good thought. Thank you, Scott.
You're very welcome. Because it's funny and it's so interesting. I know we haven't had a chance to talk, and I know we've got new listeners, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. Without you, this network wouldn't be possible. After spending a decade and a half in the entertainment industry, both in the production and the live talent side, I see so many talented people who don't get the spotlight. That you need money to get the spotlight, or you need the right connection to get the spotlight. And I thought, what better way to give back with the skills and talents that I have than to create a 24-hour radio network wherein people who have stories to tell get to tell their stories, and we connect on a deeper level. And so I do want to let you know that obviously with your permission, we will continue to use for station breaks. We'll continue to use the music and promote it for you as we grow and expand. So
absolutely,
see, there's a connection for you. But I think the definition of miracle is so I think it's important that we take time out and look at that for a minute, because the definition of miracle is that which cannot be explained.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so often we undervalue the miracles that happen in our daily life, whether it be the fact that you followed your inspiration could be considered a miracle. The fact we connected for this broadcast and people could be touched by it. The ripple effect of that could be considered a miracle. So when you look at that, what would you say for people that are searching for their own miracle? Are there practices that you use, or are there things that you've learned through your journey in terms of how to perhaps get in alignment with the opportunity to receive your miracle, or ways that you can look at the world that make a miracle more possible? What has your experience been with that?
Well, for myself, I think miracles happen in the smallest ways, and small or big. But for me, it can be something very small. It can be receiving somebody saying a comment that I have been waiting to get some kind of, what's the word, clarification.
Inspiration.
Or validation or inspiration, and then somebody will say something, and I'll go, wow, that's exactly what I needed. That's a miracle to me. Or if I read something, I turn on the TV, and there's a message in, say, I was watching a lot of Christmas movies over Christmas, and they were just beautiful and had just lovely threads of peace and harmony and love woven through whatever the storyline was. And I was able to just for myself say, wow, this is like just such a miracle, having this kind of a show on TV when everybody's busy with their families. I wasn't. And that I could just participate in that kind of beauty throughout the Christmas season. That was, for me, a miracle. Then there's obviously the bigger ones, like, yes, today, for instance, us coming into each other's lives, the connection that you finding me on Twitter. And I have been saying to God and the angels for, I guess, the last 3 weeks or something, all I need is somebody to believe in me who's bigger than me out there, that has the doors to open, because I'm doing everything that I possibly know how to do, and I'm following all the little nudges, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that and whatever to get the word out there that these songs are alive and they're ready to be heard. And then today, and
right.
this is my miracle. It's like, oh my gosh, 3 weeks later, and you didn't know you were going to step into that role of being my miracle, but you are. So, and I'm so eternally grateful to have you on the other end of this phone to be saying to me, for me to hear that I'll play your songs. Give me, if you want to give me permission, we'll play your songs in the future. And I'm going, oh my gosh, I'm doing my service work. Thank you, God. Thank you, angels. So thank you, Scott.
You're very welcome, and I think that's why I raised it, because a lot of people, and I can't get into details on the air, but I have some rather large executives who listen to this program from a syndicated group of television networks. And when I said I'm going to eventually start this online network that I hope goes to be 24 hours, and it's all going to be undiscovered people. I don't want the famous people. I want the people who are trying to get famous. They said to me, that can't work. Nobody will listen. That'll break down the structure of the way things are. And it's like, yeah, well, I hope so, because I think that the biggest challenge is so many talented and gifted people don't love themselves in the way of, yeah, we can do this. Yeah, right. I've got a book to write, or I've got a song to sing, or I've got a story to tell, or I've got a race to run. Whatever it is, we so often think that we are so small, and I remind people all the time, because I do entertainment and creativity coaching, and I remind people all the time, every famous person that you now know once started out as a nobody.
Correct.
Once started out as a dreamer. And I think there comes a level and a point where we have to embrace and kind of capture lightning in a bottle for a moment and say, I'm going to grab it, and I'm just going to ride it, and I'm going to see where it leads. And I think as we've just entered a new year, we're 4 days into the new year, and every day, you know, I'm connecting with people and I'm talking to people about, now's your time to shine. Let's make that happen for you. Because there's so often is that we get into the jealousy and we get into the I'm so small. You're no smaller than every other shooting star. And I think it's important that when we look at being a star, first we have to be willing to shine, and then people will look, right? And it sounds like that's been your journey in the process. And I think there comes a point, too, where are you still writing and composing? Are you still open to receiving new music, or have you
where I've gone with this now is it's turned out to, I write now, the angels are gifting me pretty much daily, a daily quote. So I write inspirational quotes every day on Twitter and Facebook. And so I might get one or two, but they're usually of what I would perceive to be, you know, value, like inspirational value, whether it's thought-provoking or it's an encouraging message or whatever. And so that's what I'm doing right now. Because I am not able at this moment to do this full-time, do this as a full-time venture, and I am concentrating on, I'm right now in a very comprehensive rehab program because I am getting ready to go back to my corporate job unless the doors open somewhere else for me, which I'm praying that they do, so I can serve God in the way I really want to. I don't write music right now, but saying that, I am never at a lack of words in my head. If I needed to write something, I could write something. I've always written. My entire life I've written. I wrote poetry when I was very young, and I wrote children's books as one of my spiritual books, as one of my creative avenues that went nowhere, and just recently threw everything out. And you know, I was just getting discouraged. But it's interesting because, like what you're saying, a shooting star ready to shine. Yes, I have finally embraced that I am as valuable and as much of a shining star as anybody else walking this planet. And it's taken me all this time to get to this point. And my quote today was dealing with worthiness and worthlessness, and about, you know, grabbing hold of that we are worthy. But that is an innate, that comes from inside. It doesn't matter how many people a person has in their life and how much support and how much encouragement or praise. I mean, this all helps. But if a person doesn't believe it inside themselves, then it's going to be very, very difficult for them to achieve and realize their dreams and their visions. So one of the things that I've been working on myself is, and having it become aligned, is that I am worthy, that I am a beautiful child, daughter of God, and that I bring a message to people, and that the people deserve to hear it, they're meant to hear it, and I am a messenger, and I'm owning that. So it feels so good to say that, and I'm not hiding it and, you know, hiding under a bushel. I'm out there shining. Anybody that wants to see my smile, you know, I'm there, and will radiate light. I love being an encourager and a cheerleader, and you know, I'll route the next person on. And I'm so grateful that when you were saying, Scott, about having this venue open for people who aren't known, I think we get so caught up. I can't speak for other people, but for myself, comparing myself to other people and all of the hype and the traditional talk about that if you don't have the connections, and even if you do, oh my gosh, how hard it is to go anywhere, even if you did have the appropriate connections. So for somebody who has zero connections and had zero support when I started this music venture, now I have great family support, so that isn't an issue. They're very excited for what I'm doing now in my life. But I have no network connections. However, I have the biggest connection in this whole universe, and that's God. So God and the angels, whether you want to call it, like you said, creator, spirit, whatever, nature, whatever works for a person. I'm not putting the divine, I'm not putting any kind of title on it. For me, God works. So I just say that is the biggest network system I could ever ask for and ever be able to tap into.
And it's interesting, so often when I work with clients, the thing is, well, I never thought I was worth whatever it is, finding a healthy relationship, or finding my true purpose in career, or following my talent and my dream. And I've always answered people with, I can guarantee you're worth it. You want to know how I know? You were born, and worth is a birthright. And so from that space, if you weren't worthy of success, then you wouldn't have been born. You wouldn't have been brought into a world where you can make a difference. And I'm saying that for you as well as anyone listening who's like, but you don't know my story. No, but I do know the idea of the creation of a life is created independently with worth. There's close to 9 billion people on the planet right now, and each and every one of them has a worth to the collective greater good. And some of us have found it, and some of us are searching for it, and some of us choose not to see it, so we can be stubborn sometimes.
Yeah.
But we all have worth, and that worth can be expressed through being uniquely yourself and owning your position and your place in life, and it's so important. And for those who haven't heard the story, I mean, we've got, I believe it's 42, 43 episodes now, an hour and a half to 2 hours in length, on demand, in the archives for people to check out. But for those that haven't heard the story, I was scouted by a national company in my early to mid 20s, offered $100,000 plus a year job, and then told you're not photogenic enough for television. And I walked away from broadcasting. I walked away from something I was really gifted at because what I thought was my life wasn't going to be my life. And now, over a decade later, here I am starting this new project, and I'm passionate about it, but you never know how the things we're passionate about can come all the way back around. Speaking of coming back around, we've come back around to the need to take another music break so we can highlight. And so what I want to do with that, what song would you like us to listen to next?
I think I would like you to play God, I Am Connected.
All right, let me find it. There we are. And so we will do that now. And let's see here. All right. So this is God, I Am Connected by Brenda Rachel here on the Power of Perception Radio Network.
God, I am connected. My telephone's on the wall. God, I am connected. I'm waiting for your call. God, I am connected. Just tell me what to do. God, I am connected. God, I am connected. God, I am connected. I'm listening to you. My life has been an open book to those who've known me long. The people I'm surrounded by would say that I am strong. I tell them that without you by my side to guide my way, I would not be as happy as I am in life today. God, I am connected. My telephone's on the wall. God, I am connected. I'm waiting for your call. God, I am connected. Just tell me what to do. God, I am connected. God, I am connected. God, I am connected. I'm listening to you. My life has been a journey full of turns along the way. Sometimes I felt I couldn't cope, so I forgot to pray. But then I felt your presence all around me, and I knew that everything would be okay if I had faith in you. God, I am connected. My telephone's on the wall. God, I am connected. I'm waiting for your call. God, I am connected. Just tell me what to do. God, I am connected. God, I am connected. God, I am connected. I'm listening to you. Listening to you. God, I am connected. My telephone's on the wall. God, I am connected. I'm waiting for your call. God, I am connected. Just tell me what to do. God, I am connected. God, I am connected. God, I am connected. My telephone's on the wall. God, I am connected. I'm waiting for your call. God, I am connected. Just tell me what to do. God, I am connected. God, I am connected. God, I am connected. I'm listening to you. Listening to you.
All right, and that was God, I Am Connected here on the Power of Perception Radio Network, and you know, the amazing thing with that is we are all interconnected, and our willingness to serve is how we remain connected. And sometimes God, Goddess, Spirit, the universe, our higher self, whatever terminology you want to use, gives us opportunities to be of service when we're out and about. And it's so funny. As I was listening to that song, the first thing I thought was, what if this was like a song used in a video to promote community service in some way? That's what came through to me as I was listening, and so was that the emphasis behind the song, Brenda? Was that kind of the idea, is the interconnectedness that we all have as it relates to connecting with the world around us and being part of a global community, or was it something different?
No, actually, but I really appreciate your perception of it and the community video. That would have been great. That is a really fantastic idea. No, I think for me, when I was writing it, it was about that I had to stay so focused on my connection, my oneness with Spirit, with God, in alignment. And this, again, was all during this time that I was going through with being off with my feet, and just having to be in a place of unequivocal and unmovable faith like just please God. It was almost like a plea to, I'm here, I'm waiting for you. Please answer my phone. I'll do anything that you ask of me. Just pick up the phone on the other end and tell me what you want me to do. That was the premise for that song.
And so sometimes it's the willingness to serve without the direction of service that can be
Correct.
sometimes a major challenge. I also would love to, and if he listens, the gentleman who did the singing for that particular song, one of the things that brought the song alive for me was it seemed like he was passionate about the lyrics. It seemed like it was something that connected with his heart and that translates into the final presentation. And so if he's out there listening, or if you're still in contact with him, I'd love to have him on the program sometime as well, just to kind of discuss the process of how singing can connect with people's hearts as well, because the one thing that came through in that song is the idea that when we're passionate about being connected, be it to our inner purpose, be it to our personal passion, be it to being of service, whatever it is, connection is so very important to fulfillment, happiness, and peace and joy.
Correct. And at that time as well, the singer's name is John Hemingway. I do not know where, this was in 2004, 2005 that we worked together. I am not sure where he is. I would love at some point, if he is out there, to get in touch with you. Yeah, that would be awesome. But we were all at a Unity Church at that time. He was the music director and feature performer, etc., feature musician, and we were very conscious of being in unity and all the interconnectedness that we all had at the church, but also John and I. It was an incredible feat to work with somebody who I'd never really even met until I'd started writing the songs, and then my girlfriend introduced me to him and said, well, maybe he can help you record the songs. And we just were such a good match. Like when I would go in and sing in my very unmelodic voice, the melody, and we would put together what came out of it, I'll tell you, it was nothing like what you're hearing now. As to how I initially sung it for him. So it was like just an incredible, like that's why I say it was just an amazing miracle with the birth of each of these songs, because I go, wow, we got all this from me just singing like the first line. It was really amazing. And he is an amazing singer, so an artist.
Awesome, and I love how you said that. You weren't necessarily expecting to find someone to help you record, and then the synchronicities of the universe. Not only did you find someone to help you record, but you found someone to, from the sounds of it, you're saying, enhance the work that you'd already done, and those type of connections don't always happen for people, but they're available to all of us, and I think that's important too, when we're willing to see every person we meet as a potential connection rather than the subconscious judgment, oh, well, he doesn't have connections, or she's too thin, or he uses drugs, or she is poor, or whatever it is. Every soul that we interact with has the ability to be a connection, because every person we meet, I honestly believe, is a reflection of a part of ourselves in one way or another. And so what he did is he brought your passion for music to life with his voice and his ability to write. And so that partnership birthed something now that can touch thousands or millions of people. And that is pretty cool.
Yes, yeah. No, it was just an amazing process, and the dialogue that would go back and forth, and some of the stuff that I had, some of the words that I had written, and the word wouldn't fit with him, and the dialogue that we'd have about that, and I'd go, no, we have to do it this way. Or he'd go, no, I don't think it's that way. Anyways, it's just amazing to see the unfoldment. But you're absolutely right. Everybody is, we all are connected, but we all have an opportunity to be a light. I write a lot of quotes, I shouldn't say I write. The angels give me a lot of quotes dealing with light, being light, and sharing our smiles. And, if we share a smile with someone, it can heal our hearts. And we just never know when we're going to touch somebody, when we're going to be the vehicle for that person's healing. And it could be a pat on the arm. It could be letting somebody go in front of you in a lineup. It could be holding the door for somebody. What the smallest thing. We just never know what that person is going through, what another individual is going through. I mean, maybe that person is having the real down day, and they are contemplating suicide, or they don't, things are very grim in their life, or they are so lost, etc., and somebody just does a random act of kindness that costs absolutely no money, and smiles are free. And so I'm really into being a light through your smile, and saying, just being out there and just a busy bus lineup or grocery lineup or waiting at the gas pumps or whatever, and just having an exchange, even just eye contact with somebody, and having this big beaming smile, and everything's okay. So anyway, that's I love smiles. I think smiles are great.
And then there's the other part of it too, and that is there is a group of people, especially in the New Age or the mystic or the spiritual movement, who want everything to be positive, want everything to be light. And the challenge with that is that only through the darkness, only through traveling through your trials and your challenges, do you appreciate the light and the miracles and the breaks that you get. For example, even in your own life, had you not had those physical challenges which sidelined you for quite a while, the music we're hearing today may not have come together because you may not have taken time for it, or you may not have gotten the inspiration for it. And so it is really important to remember that for everything that is dark, there is light. For everything that is light, there is dark. And it's about finding that balance of your purpose and seeing everything as kind of that balancing act. Yes, there are miracles, but for every miracle, there's a hardship which will bring you the miracle. For every hardship, there is a miracle that will set you free. And as we see the balance in that, it is in that moment where we can start to breathe and really enjoy everyday life.
I totally agree. And the inception of this EP would not have happened if I had not been off on disability yet again since August with my issues, and being very, very devastated at having this turn of events, and really needing to once again ask, what am I doing here? Nothing has unfolded for me the way I thought it would in doing God's work on the planet and the angels' work, and what am I supposed to do? And so everything turned the corner on October 29th, 2014. And so when I had the message delivered from my mom, who very very succinctly told me when I was on my spinal decompression table, you need to get your music out there, and specifically through iTunes. So anyway, and for me, it's exactly what you're saying, Scott. I know from having been so involved in spiritual practices for a long time that we are all, those of us who are aware and choose to adopt being on the sort of metaphysical plane and understanding that everything is unfolding as it should, when it should, etc., and that positivity should reign at all times, no matter, don't get into the physical part of what's going on and all this sort of stuff. And this has been, I think, a huge challenge for me as well, to say, well, I'm a spiritual person and I have all these tools to know better, so why am I in a physical disability again? And the answer is, this never would have happened if I hadn't been. So I'm very grateful that for every hardship that I have experienced, something positive has come out of it. It's been very difficult in the dark to see the light, but as you say, where there's dark, there's light, and where there's light, there's dark, and to embrace both, to not deny and not to invalidate, and dismiss that it should ever be like that, because it is what it is, and sometimes it's really hard to accept it is what it is.
Right. And what it is now is that we're going to go to our next music break, so nice little segue there. And so what would you like us to put on for the listeners out there next?
I think what I'd like to put on is It's Time to Be One with Spirit.
Okay. All right. And that is actually staring at me. So anything you'd like to say about the song before we play it?
No, just that this evolved after I was at a church service in the morning, and we'd heard somebody sing. We had a guest artist in, and they sung a song, and I went home and I asked the angels, I want to write a song just like that one, peppy, upbeat, easy, so kids can learn the words, etc., etc., and this is what came.
All righty, so we will take a music break for it, and so it's Time to Be One with Spirit by Brenda Rachel here on the Power of Perception Radio Network.
Raise your hands, clap, stomp your feet. It's time to be one with Spirit. Raise your hands, clap, stomp your feet. It's time to be one with Spirit. It's time to rejoice. It's time we hear your voice. It's time we make a choice to be one with Spirit. Raise your hands, clap, stomp your feet. It's time to be one with Spirit. It's time. Clap, stomp your feet. It's time to be one with Spirit. It's time to feel good. It's time we hear your word. It's time we understood. We are one with Spirit. Raise your hands, clap, stomp your feet. It's time to be one with Spirit. Oh yeah. Clap, stomp your feet. It's time to be one with Spirit. It's time to feel alive. It's time we realize. It's time we know inside. We are one with Spirit. Clap, stomp your feet. It's time to be one with Spirit. Don't you know it's time? Clap, stomp your feet. It's time to be one with Spirit. 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 It's time. Don't you know it's time to be one with Spirit? It's time to be one with Spirit. It's time to be one with Spirit. It's time. Raise your hands, clap, stomp your feet. It's time to be one with Spirit. It's time. Clap, stomp your feet. It's time to be one with Spirit. Raise your hands, clap, stomp your feet. It's time to be one with Spirit. Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Time to be with Spirit. It's time to be one with Spirit.
All right, and that was Brenda Rachel with It's Time to Be One with Spirit here on the Power of Perception Radio Network. And I love the fact that with every song there is a different energy or feel to it, But you're right when you said earlier in the broadcast that there is a universal theme to the EP itself. As I was listening, because I always, after a decade plus of talent scouting and all of that, I start to get into the creative process of how to enhance things. And so as I was listening to that, the first thing I thought was, wouldn't it be cool if you went to a local church and had the youth group, which is very diverse, kind of sing that and make it into a music video that could be posted on YouTube? And it's all about focusing on diversity. It would be cost effective to do, easy to do, but I think because as I was listening, I was thinking of like Hillsong Kids and that sort of vein. There's a lot there that is a simplistic, childlike message, but it's something that adults could get behind too, in the sense of we put so many roadblocks and divisions and separation points, whether it be religion or politics or socio-economical standard or education. We put these divisions into life. And but if we realize that it is time to be one with Spirit or God, however we connect with Him or her, then we relax, don't we? It becomes so much easier to handle life when we seek unity.
Exactly. And I think, I really found as I was writing the songs that the theme for me also was the simplicity. And I thought to myself at times, these songs are easy to learn, they're easy to sing along with, and the message is very, very basic. There's nothing convoluted, and so if somebody was looking or searching for some kind of inspiration to get them through the day, any one of the songs would be able to do that. The other thing, as you were saying, the children's video, that was one of the songs that my girlfriend who teaches Sunday school had her class that had the 3-year-old to the 18-year-olds in it sing. And it was the cutest thing because they were clapping their hands and stomping their feet as they were singing. And the kids, of course, the little ones, were getting it all mixed up. And it was adorable to watch. And it just reminded me how it doesn't matter the sequence of the hands or the feet or this or that, even the sequence of events in life, it will all work out. And that when we recognize that everything is one and there is no time in spirit, everything, it's just a constant oneness of we are one, God is one. The universe, hopefully, is becoming one. And they're just, so no matter how many, deviations, like with the hands and the feet, I'm using the analogy of the kids being out of sync, et cetera, no matter how out of sync we all are and how frazzled and how crazy and chaotic the energy is, if we can bring it back and center us all back to the core of that we are one and there is no division and there is no separation between each of us as human beings on this planet, it's a very, very simple way to be.
Not only is it simple, but it's also anyone can understand it if they are willing. And there's a willingness to that process, right? Where
Correct.
sometimes, and I know this will be somewhat for a lot of people a controversial statement, but I think sometimes as human beings we choose division because it makes us feel important. I have more education, or I get paid more, or I am a better whatever it is, a better politician, a better singer, a better firefighter, whatever. And we do have to realize that the divisions that exist in our world today, the divisions that exist in our society today, all do come down to the choice to step away from universal love and acceptance. And you don't have to choose that anymore. you can make a conscious decision to seek out unity and oneness. And I think that song reminds us of that, and it draws that into the consciousness of people who might be going, I wish I didn't feel so isolated. I wish I didn't feel so alone or so frustrated or whatever the case is. That wish and that desire is primal and very centered in human existence. And so the more we look for opportunities to unify, the easier and more successful and more enjoyable life will truly be.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. I think, too, that there is a lot of competition, and that, I think most of us have heard, I have to lose, or I have to lose for you to win. You have to lose for me to win. Win-win, lose-lose. Those kinds of theories. And the whole thing is, there's enough for everybody. And if our consciousness allowed us to claim what the universe is ready to hand us, it's an abundant universe. There's an unlimited amount of everything in the universe for everyone. Nobody is in competition needs to be, I shouldn't say is. Nobody needs to be, if they so choose not to be, in competition for a piece of the pie.
And it's so funny when I work with clients one-on-one, one of the biggest challenges to people living an authentic and truthful life is the illusion of competition. Because the reality is, most of us, the majority of us, are so busy trying to get ahead ourselves that they don't care what everyone else is doing. They're trying to make their ends meet. They're trying to enhance their relationship. They're trying to further their career. And yet we all seem to think that other people have it better, and we buy into this illusion that competition exists. It only exists in the mind of those who choose to compete. And if we got to a place where we didn't make that choice, where we just said, you know what, you can be successful and so can I, and so can Bobby down the street who's been on hard times, and so can the person who's born into the family with every financial advantage but not an emotional advantage, and those are things that really do come into alignment. And I see that we actually have a caller, so I'm going to investigate a little bit about our caller. Area code 233 Radio Network. Who is this and where are you calling from, please?
Hello. Well, hello. Yeah, I'm calling from Chicago, Illinois.
All right, and how can we help you today?
I'm a born again Christian. I just turned Christian. God seeped into my soul about 4 months ago, and I'm kind of new to religion. I grew up in Islam, but so I just need a little bit of clarification, because there's been a couple of things that have just been really, it's been kind of making it hard for me to be a Christian. And I would really appreciate your help, because I really want to be with God.
Okay. So what we will do here is we will say this, and what I'm going to do, since we don't necessarily promote one or another religion on this program, I'm going to just expound just for a moment on the concepts here of whatever you believe is right for you, the pathway you choose is right for you, the masters of different religions, whether we say Muhammad, Christ, Krishna, Buddha, Yahweh, or whatever other belief system is there, is the pathway that's going to bring personal peace into your life. And so what I would encourage you to do is to seek the truth in all pathways that fits for you, and to let go of the pathways that in your heart or in your mind cause division. And I'll leave it at that, and we'll kind of get back more on topic here, because I get the sense that maybe that was an attempt at diversion just a little bit, and so rather than do that, we'll get back on topic and stay in the flow of that which is positive. And simply say, every pathway has value, every pathway has positivity, and every pathway has an evolutionary process to to that concept and to that idea, and the more we embrace and the more we believe in the oneness of every belief system and the oneness of truth that comes through whatever spirit connective we have, the easier it will be to truly remain in a positive place of success and enlightenment. And so, Brenda, as we go forward, I love the fact, and I know that call happened for a reason, and I understand that there's a universal reason for it. As we go back earlier in the interview, you spoke about the ideas of your music being able to reach all belief systems.
Absolutely.
And I think, have there been in your angelic intercessories, have there been in your processes of working with the angels, have there been some universal messages where they talk about the divisions caused by religion, for example, or caused by the things that man creates that divide us from their truth at all? Have you experienced any messages in that way?
No, because the messages that I'm blessed with, that I am given, and through, like I said earlier, now through my quotes that I put out on Twitter and Facebook, they're all universal. They're not religion or like they have nothing to do with any kind of a religion-based principle. It's more like a global general, whether they're encouraging or supportive or, encouraging or, bringing messages of peace or of love or of joy, but in a general aspect. Now, I do get messages, obviously. God is in some of the messages, not a lot of the messages, but that's because what I am comfortable as the medium bringing these messages for the angels with, but it could be anything. It could be for anybody, whatever they choose to worship and are comfortable with in their own hearts. And I guess the thing that I would just basically say is when we're at peace, when there's a peace in our heart, whatever it is that brings us peace and whatever we choose to call it outside of ourselves, that brings us that inner peace and knowing that we're so solidified in our faith and that we just want to be a reflection of that universal love to whoever we come in contact with, whatever we choose to call that is what works for each individual person.
All right, and I so agree with you, because that every pathway and the receiving of information from every pathway can be, somebody might be pagan, another person might be Jewish, another person might be Unitarian, another person might be Christian, but the truths of those texts are timeless, and truth has no division in it. We do have 15 minutes remaining. I can't believe that we've already been through an hour and 45 minutes. It's really flown by. I do want to get the final two songs in. Do you have a preference as to where we go next, and then and which song you'd like to close with?
Yes, and I would love for us, and I'll tell you the history of this song just briefly, is to play Hear the Angels Sing. And this was a song that I wrote in 2006, and this was, my niece committed suicide. She was 22 years old on July 25th, 26, 2005, sorry. And I went through a devastating time because not only did I lose my niece, but I lost my sister, whose daughter it was. And I lost her emotionally. Now we're back together, and I love her. She's my best friend on the planet. But it took us a long time to come back and heal the family from this devastating tragedy. And this was one of the darkest places of my life So this was in honor of my niece's passing.
All right, so we will go with that next. All right, I will put you back on hold here. This is Hear the Angels Sing by Brenda Rachel here on the Power of Perception Radio Network. And here we go.
Sometimes I feel I've been deserted. Sometimes I feel so all alone. Sometimes I think there's no one listening. Sometimes I think God is not at home. But of peace and joy and love they bring. They tell me God hears everything. If only I believe. Sometimes I think there's no solution. Sometimes I think that no one cares. Sometimes I'm in such confusion. Sometimes I think God doesn't hear my prayers. But then I hear the angels sing of peace and joy and love they bring. They tell me God hears everything. If only I believe. Sometimes I think I have no purpose. Sometimes I feel I can't go on. Sometimes I think that there's no future. Sometimes I think God doesn't hear my song. But then I hear the angels sing of peace and joy and love they bring. They tell me God hears everything. If only I believe. Sometimes I feel I've been abandoned. Sometimes I think I can't take it anymore. Sometimes I wish my life had ended. Sometimes I think God has closed his door. But then I hear the angels sing of peace and joy and love they bring. They tell me God hears everything. If only I believe. If I believe, I believe, I believe. If only I believe, I believe, I believe. If only I believe, I believe, I
All right, and that once again is Brenda Rachel with Hear the Angels Sing. And 1 second here. Let's see here. There we go. You're back on the air. We've got only about 3 to 4 minutes remaining in order to get the last song in. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to give you a chance to plug and promote where people can purchase your music, any other projects you may be involved with, so that we get maximum exposure for you. And as I mentioned, definitely going to be putting your music in the rotation here for station breaks. And it's been a pleasure. I'm pretty sure this is your first long-form interview, and you've done fabulously well. So. And it's been an honor and a pleasure to have you on today. And
Thank
so
you,
I just
Scott.
want to give you that few minutes there.
Okay. Thanks, Scott. Yes, it's been my first ever interview, so that's been so much fun. I've so enjoyed it. I just want to let people know I'm on Facebook. And if they go to, they can type in Brenda Rachel, or actually the best place is to find me, Brenda Rachel 444. That's my name on Twitter. And the press release on Mondo Tunes, it's in my, it's on the homepage, and that gives you the press release of how the songs came about. And in there's the links to Twitter, Facebook, and also the songs are on iTunes and Amazon, and everything's in the press release, but they're also under my tweets on the Twitter page, as they are on my Facebook page.
And I will, and I don't know all the technical details, but I do know that there is also CD Baby. I don't know if you're on there, but I know that the percentages for the artists are generally higher. They're usually about 80 to 90%, where the percentages are lower on iTunes and other places. So it might be a place to look for you to cross promote.
Right. Yeah. I'm not on CD Baby. And but that's valuable information. I really appreciate you giving me that. It's kind of, when I started out, I was bouncing all over how to release digitally, and so anyway, this is where I've started. Yeah.
All right. So if you could put together about a 90-second synopsis of the River of Love before we close the program, that would be wonderful.
Okay, The River of Love was written, it's a native, based on a Native American theme, and just to bring it back into a quiet place, it's the most meditative piece on the EP, and I hope everybody enjoys it, and it brings them some kind of personal peace.
All right. To play that now. Once again, this has been Scott Golden and Brenda Rachel today on the Power of Perception Radio Network, and we're going to close with The River of Love right here. And we will see you tomorrow, and this is Scott Golden reminding you once again, keep your mind in the moment and your feet on the ground. Until tomorrow, everybody.
When I stand by the banks of the river of love, and I feel your sweet breath on my face, I know I am floating on the wings of a dove, being held in the cloak of your grace. The birds hush their singing high up in the trees. The butterfly cease flying their wings. The fishes in the river are closing their eyes, each listening to what the angels sing. Oh Spirit, you're here. Oh Spirit, I see you. Oh Spirit, you're near. Oh Spirit, I feel you. Oh Spirit, you are dear. Oh Spirit, I need you. Oh Spirit, it is clear. Oh Spirit, I love you. The flowers are opening their buds out in bloom. The tree branches sway to and fro. The sun is hiding its golden face from the moon, while the banks of the river are aglow. The deer are prancing along the path. The bears are hibernating in their caves. The beavers slap their tails while having their bath, each listening to what the angels sing. Oh Spirit, you're here. Oh Spirit, I see you. Oh Spirit, you're near. Oh Spirit, I feel you. Oh Spirit, you are dear. Oh Spirit, I need you. Oh Spirit, it is clear. Oh Spirit, I love you. When I stand by the banks of the river of love, and I feel your sweet breath on my face, I know I am floating on the wings of a dove, being held in the cloak of your grace. Oh Spirit, you're here. Oh Spirit, I see you. Oh Spirit, you're near. Oh Spirit, I feel you. Oh Spirit, you are dear. Oh Spirit, I need you. Oh Spirit, it is clear. Oh Spirit, I love you.